I have really exciting news. And that news is we're going to my local indie bookstore to pick up House of Flame and Shadow right now. Hi everybody. You saw me earlier, super excited to get my copy of House of Flame and Shadow, and I'm happy to tell you that I got my copy of House of Flame and Shadow, and y'all, this book is so pretty. I got the indie edition. I guess first thing I need to say is this vlog is going to have spoilers. I am that person who bought the book and also bought the Kindle book. And I do not do that for every book I read, or even the majority of the books I read, but this to me is like a collector's item. I know it's not like a special edition or anything, but this is a collector's item. And yes, I will refer to the book as I'm reading, and I like to put my bookmark in so I can see how far I flipped, but I am going to be reading this majority on Kindle so that I feel comfortable taking the book places and getting it read more. Secondly, it's going to be a challenge to finish this almost 900-page book this week because I don't remember if I've told you guys or not, but I am stage managing for the Community Theater's production of Moana Jr., which is happening on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday evenings. I have read the prologue today, and I just finished the first chapter, which makes me feel caught up with all of the people that read the early access stuff. First of all, how just like traumatizing the whole Hind Rune hunt situation is right now. Like, oh, it made me like nauseous in the prologue. And then this first chapter with Bryce kind of figuring out the dynamics between Rhys and Amren and Azriel. I'm like, what the heck is happening? So I guess she is Brandon Sanderson now. Do you know what I mean? Like, she has created her version of a Cosmere because these worlds are all connected. Hey everyone, welcome to my classroom on Wednesday. First of all, I don't feel like great today, but I'm here and I'm doing the work because my kids need me, but I'm literally wearing all black. I feel like an assassin because I'm trying to assassinate the feelings that don't feel good, and I'm just downing the caffeine, but I just got all of the work I needed to do done on my planning block, and I've got like 20 minutes left, so we're jumping back in. I got to page 98 the last time I picked up my book, and I'm having a lot of fun. I definitely think that I'm starting to like make predictions, like Queen Thea, whatever her name is Amren her lost daughter? Am I right? I don't know. So there's that. And y'all, how did I not make the connection between the Midgard worm and Midgard? Like, I feel so dumb that I missed that. And the second they said Midgard worm, I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds like something. Duh, it sounds like Midgard. The only thing, and my coworker pointed this out last night, and I didn't really notice it until she pointed it out, is we are jumping perspectives so much. Like, I feel like I'm barely getting any time in a scene before we're jumping to another character. And I'm sure that has a reason. I'm sure that has a purpose. And maybe it'll even out as we kind of figure out where all of the characters are, but it is difficult. Not in the sense that like it makes comprehending the story difficult, but it makes staying invested in one particular moment difficult, because the second I'm like, okay, I'm here. I want to know what happens next. We're back in like Lunathian, or we're back in Polaris, the Hewn City. It's crazy to me, and I don't know how to connect everything yet. So I'm just mostly along for the ride. So page 98, picking it back up. I'm 12% through before I take my shower and look like a slob. I have not read anymore today since my planning block, but I did get to around chapter 9, and I feel so dumb for like not making connections, but I also have so many theories, and I think everything is so much more connected than we think it is, and I can only imagine that things are gonna get crazier. Also, where's Feyre? She just taking care of her baby? Because is that even the timeline that we're in? There's so much going on. Also, Ethan, this little boy is so sad to me, and I just want something to go right for him. But I feel like that's going to be a very, very far in the future thing, because his life is just sad. I don't really have that much to update. I went out to eat with my work friends after work, and then I had to film a video and edit a video, and so it's already 9:30. And some of y'all might be like, wow, the night is still young. You have so much more time to read. Please don't forget that I wake up. Please don't forget that I set my alarm for 5 a.m. and snooze until like 6:15 every day and leave my house at 7:15. So staying up late is hard. Anyway, peace, love, and happiness. I've got to go get ready for bed. I did do my nails today. Aren't they cool? I got 2 sets of these. The other one is kind of like a berry one from Ulta tonight. Signing off for tonight. We'll come back with a more thorough update tomorrow. I got home from work last night and I built this bed. That was me. I did that. The lights are not on right now because I'm about to get into bed and have a cozy Saturday. I'll update y'all on my reading in just a little bit. But man, I'm thrilled. Secondly, the headboard, if it were any thicker, I could not put my Kindle holder here. But I have been dreaming of a life where I can put my Kindle above me while I read. And this is the answer. This is the answer right here. And I'm just so happy that y'all can actually think that I'm an adult now with a real bed. Zelda's happy with it too. She loves it. You look so pretty. Yeah. Friends, welcome. Welcome to my new reading spot. Let's talk about what y'all are all here for this week. House of Flame and Shadow. I am 28% in, which puts me at page 226. And I know I haven't really gotten to talk to y'all a lot about this book over the course of the week because it has been a week at school. But because I've been so tired / also going and doing Moana rehearsals in the evening, I've been able to read maybe 1 or 2 chapters each day. But because the weekend is here, I have put on my new Bryce shirt that I got from Caffeine and Curses. I will link them below. I plan on essentially just staying here, and I don't know what my cats are doing in the other room. I intend on staying here and making this my goblin nest over the weekend and getting some really, really good quality reading in. As far as like things that have made me go, oh my gosh, because I told y'all this was going to be a spoiler-filled vlog, let's kind of talk about all the different groups of people at this point in the book, at almost 30% in the book. Hunt and Rune, and is his name Bastion? I feel really bad for not knowing that. Yeah, Baxian. Baxian? They are still being held captive, and that is traumatizing. And I got to the part last night that literally made me want to cry and throw up at the same time when Baxian has to bite off Rune's hand. And if there's one thing in media that like gets me, it's blood. I cannot stand blood, which is so funny because I spent so much time in the hospital as a teenager and would get just like pints, I felt like, of blood drawn every single day. It doesn't bother me if it's something to do with me, but when it's blood from others, medical or not, like I get secondhand like nauseous. So that was not a fun experience to read about. And also just like I feel so bad for these 3 who are being held captive. And like, to me, Rune is justifiably beyond angry at Lydia. I can't even process the feelings that he must be feeling. Other characters, Ethan just had to fight Sigrid, and that was not fun to read about. I don't really know what's going on right there, and I don't want either of them to be dead. Like, that just happened. I don't know what's gonna happen next. Bryce and Nesta and Asriel are walking around underneath wherever they are. I'm ready for something else to happen with them. I love all of those characters. Nesta is my favorite ACOTAR character. I love Bryce. Like, she's the whole reason that I keep loving this series. But I feel like they have just been walking and learning for a while. And yeah, they're learning some like really, really big things. But as far as their plot line, like their whole purpose right now is to walk and learn and walk and learn. And I need something else to happen with them. So 28% in, and we've got a lot to read this weekend. Tomorrow is book club for one of my in-person book clubs where we read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo last month. Well, technically I read it last month, but it's for February book club. Anyway, we are meeting at a place called Sushi Village tomorrow, and Sushi Village is magical because you pay one price and you get unlimited sushi. And honestly, this and the thought of unlimited sushi are the 2 things getting me through this heck of a week. But let's read now. right, friends, I made it to part 2. I think everything that just happened with Bryce was just to give us context that she has learned some things that she needed to learn, and she could only learn those things by going to another world. I think she's going home now, and home is where I like Bryce to be. We need her there. Also, what the heck is going on with Ethan? He just ran away from everybody. I think that he's going back to be an alpha for the wolves. I could be wrong, but I think that's like what his gut is making him do. Who knows? These are just predictions, throwing them out into the universe. So I'm on chapter 34 now. Lydia just got all of our captive boys free, and I am having flashbacks to how I felt watching Game of Thrones, because there were characters at the beginning of that show that was like, there is nothing in this world that could make me like this character. And then by the middle of the series, or by the end, I was like, I am ride or die for this human. And that's how I feel about Rune right now. And that is probably an unpopular opinion, but I didn't really like him in the first book, or really like halfway through the second book. But now I'm like, Rune is my bestie. I love him, and I just want good things for him. Stay tuned for more. I don't know if y'all took me seriously when I said I was gonna stay here all day, but here I am. I'm still here. I'm so ready for everybody to be together again. It's driving me crazy that they're all so separated from each other, but at least they're all back in the same world, because that was a lot. And y'all, I'm not gonna lie, there's so much like info dump history world building that's like connecting all of the worlds together that like I think I'm comprehending, but I definitely may be missing some of it. Does anybody else feel that way? Is it all going to come together for me? I don't know. I'm still having a really great time. It still feels like a 5-star read. There is so much to learn. Wow. We took a short break to run to Kroger. I'm making barbecue sandwiches for dinner, and I needed some barbecue sauce. And then I made a little Sonic pit stop because they have a new option that you can add to a drink called Make It Dirty, which that is so cringy to say, but it is like a lime coconut cream mix that you can put in a soft drink. So I got it with my Diet Coke to try it. Back when you could buy lime Diet Coke, that was like my favorite thing. You can't get it anymore, but let's try it. That's good. Wow, that's really good. Go get that. Happy Sunday morning. I'm not looking as much like a goblin today. However, I still intend to spend the day as a goblin. Zelda, who is here with me and has not left the bed since I built it, we are both being goblins this weekend. We would like to tell you that we made it to 59% of the book last night, which is page 488. I really tried to read to page 500 last night, but I got hit with like this overwhelming exhaustion, and it was better for me to go to bed than try and keep reading, because I wouldn't have remembered what I was reading in the first place. But I am so happy at this point in the book because our characters, with the exception of Ethan, are all back together. And so much is going on when, like, I don't even know how to talk about what's going on because there's so much going on, but things that I have had visceral reactions to. That's probably the best, like, point of conversation here. So Hypaxia and Jessica were working with Ethan to bring Sigrid back from the dead, because Hypaxia is a necromancer. And something went wrong during that whole process, and Sigrid came back as a reaper, which, like, I don't know what I was expecting at that part, but like I audibly shrieked at that point of the book, because I thought this was just going to be like an easy process, and that she was going to get to come back. And you know, if she comes back, then maybe Ethan doesn't get to be alpha, which I really like just have this feeling still that he is going to be the savior to the Fendir wolves. I don't know why. That's just my brain. Like, there won't be an heir to the Fendirs, and so Ethan's gonna have to step up and the wolves will follow him because he makes good choices, even though I just feel so bad for his little wolfy heart. Something is not right between Bryce and Hunt right now. Like, their communication skills aren't quite where they need to be. Hunt is going through some like guilt PTSD where, like, if I hadn't done X, Y, and Z, then none of us would be in this mess. And Bryce is like, but it's for the good of everybody. Like, even if you hadn't brought it upon us, like, somebody would, and this needs to be fixed. And they are not communicating well in regards to this, in regards to what needs to be done. Their tension and their chemistry physically is still there, but they just are not communicating well, and that kind of makes me nervous because Sarah J. Maas knows the importance of communication in a relationship. We've seen that in so many of her other books, so something just feels not right between them at the moment, and that makes me nervous. I did just really feel for the first night they were back together, and Bryce just was like I don't want to do anything, just hold me tonight. Because she just went through so much and Hunt just went through so much. And I felt like that was a really important thing to happen. Like, it doesn't always have to be this. I have students that watch my channel. I try and speak vaguely, but you know, it doesn't always have to be this big physical ordeal. Sometimes it's just the sweet, like, I just need you here and I just need to feel you holding me, and that's enough. And so that moment made me tear up a little bit. Whew, there's so much that happens. I knew Jessica was going to be more important than we have been led to believe so far. This whole House of Flame and Shadow. Oh, now Ethan and Hypaxia are going to go and try and raise Sophie so that she can use her Thunderbird abilities to bring back Sigrid normally and like give her the choice between Reaper and Wolf. That's a whole thing. I just feel overwhelmed, and now we have 41% of the book to make something happen. So just initial word vomit thoughts. I really am hoping I can finish this today. It is 11:15, so I'm gonna go make myself, I haven't had breakfast, I'm gonna make myself like an early lunch, read for as long as I can House of Flame and Shadow. And like, people are starting to put out their spoilery thought vlogs, and I want to watch it. I want to put mine out. I want to be a part of the club. So let's get some reading done. Okay, I just made it to chapter 56, and things that just happened are Rune and Lydia are having like the sweetest moment. It's pretty similar to the moment that we got with Bryce and Hunt when they were first reunited, and Bryce just asked Hunt to stay with her. That's what's going on with Rune and Lydia right now, and it was just really sweet. But Bryce and Hunt and Therian, they're exploring the caves where they got the Star Sword from, and all of a sudden the Autumn King, the Avalon King, I'm really bad at remembering his name right now, but those two kings just showed up in the cave. And I hate that that's going on, but I like what Sarah J Maas is doing with that, because I feel like Bryce thinks that she is kind of invincible, and we get that with her attitude a lot. She has just got like the biggest attitude, and she can be overly confident at times. And I feel like this is a consequence of her confidence, because in her brain, she had locked the Autumn King up and was on a like surefire mission to make sure what she wanted to happen happened here in Avalon. But she was not banking on these two kings showing up and throwing off of her plans, and she's not really sure who she can trust right now, and her confidence is crumbling down on her. And I think as far as the plot goes and consequences of her character, this was a really smart move on Sarah J Maas. I think it's going to cause a lot of issues in the next couple of chapters, but I think it was very smart. So let's keep going. Let's see what happens. In about an hour, I am going to meet my best friend for coffee at this really cool coffee shop before we head to Unlimited Sushi for dinner. But we're both going to be reading there as well. So I will pack up all my stuff and show you what I get at this coffee shop. But let's keep reading for now. Okay, so if you are caught up on all of Sarah J Maas's works, you know something that happens a lot with her heroines is that they will have some super secret plan and they won't tell anybody about it, including the reader, and you don't get to know what's going on in their brain until they act on it. In Throne of Glass, I feel like this was extra huge. In this book, Bryce had a plan, didn't tell anybody what was going on, and she got called out on it. And I feel like that was Sarah J Maas acknowledging that she knows that she has done this before and that it can drive people crazy, and that it's not necessarily the most healthy thing in a relationship to have somebody who is in charge making plans and not telling anybody about them. Now, Hunt is the one that's calling her out on it. Is he right? Like, is his thought process the right one? I don't think so. But still, just as far as like the relationship dynamics between Hunt and Bryce, I feel like it was a good thing for him to do. Because it's not fair for one person to call all the shots and to make all the decisions without cluing other people in. Now, Bryce is who she is, and she's going to do what she wants to do because that's Bryce. But I feel like it was really cool that Sarah J Maas acknowledged that this has been a theme with her main characters in the past. while at the coffee shop, my best friend was finishing our book club pick, which was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. We all really liked it, but I also was reading House of Flame and Shadow, and I got to about the 75% mark while we were there. Being in the middle of a coffee shop and not being able to freak out during some of these moments, like when the Prince of the Pit called Hunt son, y'all, the visceral reaction I had to that was probably unwarranted, but it just shocked me. I was not expecting that. And then like how it all worked together. He was kind of created by them to be a weapon for Bryce. Like what? I've liked all the conversations about that might have been why he was created, but it's not who he is. That was all very cool. The whole Valen like rising up from the ashes when Bryce put the two weapons into the ground. That scene was so stunning to me. It made me cry. Whew. And then in addition to all of this goodness right now, Taylor Swift comes out at the Grammys and says, hey, you're getting a new album, without hearing any of the music from it, but this is going to be the one that I click with the most. It's been the Folklore Evermore era up until now, but I just have a really good feeling about this album drop. It's 10 p.m. on Monday night. Officially finished the book in less than a week. I can't not give it 5 stars. There was a lot of action that just happened in that last 15%. And action is not my favorite. I don't care. Like the way everything came together was just so good. And Lydia's connection to Throne of Glass. I want more on that whole situation. And y'all, my horse girl heart, who has always loved Bryce's love for Jelly Jubilee. The Pegasus. I don't know that any part of this book made me happier than the Pegasus phone call, because I loved it. I loved just like the finality of her getting to see Connor and Danica and Lahaba. I don't know how to process my thoughts. Maybe tomorrow I'll get on here and like wrap it up, but I loved it. I loved it so much. Hi everybody. Happy Tuesday the 6th. It's been a week since Flame and Shadow was released. It took me 6 days to read, which I think, given what I do for a living and the nighttime commitments I have, is pretty impressive. Most of that was read over the course of this weekend. I need to look at my story graph and see exactly how much of the book I read over the weekend, but it was a lot. And before I upload the video, I just kind of wanted to give some like final thoughts, gushes, praises, you know, just the stuff that's still lingering on my brain that I feel like I want to say before I publish this. If you're like, Heather, why the snowman mug? I ask you, why not a snowman mug? I need the coffee today, and the snowman is what holds the coffee. Let's talk about this stunning book. First of all, I haven't read any of the bonus chapters yet. I'm kind of giving myself time to process the actual story before I enjoy a little bit more, because at this point, the little bit more of the bonus chapters is all I have left of hers that I haven't read, which is crazy to me because this time last year I hadn't read Throne of Glass. So now I'm completely caught up on the Massverse. What you doing, baby? So my overall thoughts, my overall rating, I gave it a 5 star. I think I have given every book in Crescent City a 5 star. As far as series rankings, I think Throne of Glass is still my favorite Sarah J. Maas series, which is crazy to think about with as much as I did not like the first 2 books. And it's not that I didn't like the plot, I didn't like Sarah J. Maas's writing in the first 2 books. She was young, her writing lacked a sense of maturity to me, but the way that series just like completely changed the course of my life, the more I got into the series, like that series just completely altered my brain chemistry. I would say Crescent City is in second because the scope and scale of this trilogy was mind-bending. And then ACOTAR. I love ACOTAR, but like when you compare just like the complexity of these 2 series with ACOTAR, I just feel like it doesn't encompass all of the fantasy that I love. A Court of Silver Flames, top tier ACOTAR book for me. The rest of them are good, but they're just like not my favorites. So some things that I just think of that I really loved in this book. So the first thing I want to talk about was just like, despite this being a crazy, fantastical time, some of the things that happened and just like the realisticness, is that the right word? Like how realistic certain things were. For example, Bryce and Hunt definitely have some relationship things to struggle through together. And when you look at that, like outside of the lens, obviously while we're reading it, we hate that they're having relationship trouble. And trouble, I don't even know how to really phrase that, but Hunt has just gotten through being tortured and held prisoner and is going through some serious like PTSD for the second time. He wants to get out and start this calm life with Bryce. Meanwhile, like, Bryce is learning everything that she can in order to save the world. And so when they reconvene, their goals for each other are different. And I think that that's a lot to take in for both of them. And that is where the communication issues that Hunt and Bryce were having in the middle of the book that I was frustrated with were springing from. Because every time Bryce was like, no, like, this is what we have to do. Like, we have to save the world because of X, Y, and Z. And Hunt was like, I really just want you to get off your savior complex and like settle down with me. I care so much about you and us that like this other stuff, this stuff that you're trying to save doesn't mean as much to me. And I don't think Hunt really meant that, but also like, he is working his whole life to get back to what he loves. Bryce wants to get back to what she loves, but she also knows that like everything is on her shoulders, and if she doesn't make it happen, it never will. And so they're finding it hard to meet in the middle. And so finally, when they do, it is just so beautiful. I was really worried about them for a second, that like they weren't gonna be endgame, but I was like, she wouldn't do that to us in the last 25% of the book. Also, Ethan's storyline. Y'all, at the beginning of this vlog, I said, I feel like Ethan is getting set up to be the alpha. With as much as he cared for the pack and what he was doing with Sigrid being for the good of the pack, I was like, no, this is what makes a good alpha. The fact that he cares this much about them having a good leader makes him the good leader. And like, Sigrid is just like a side plot. Like, it's just to make him realize how good he would be for the pack. And so I was really happy and excited to see his storyline play out. And like, after reading the book, I see a lot of people not really care for all of Ethan's plots and side quests and everything, but I really appreciated him as a character. He was a sad little boy who like rose to greatness. And I'm so confused about whether we're getting more books at all. I think Bryce and Hunt's storyline is over, but like, I think I also heard that there might be more Crescent City books, and I would love to see Ethan and what's her name, Perry. I'd love to see if they have a relationship that blooms. Over the course of the books, Tharian has gotten on my nerves. I'm just like, why, dude? Why are you here? And I get his purpose now. Like, she was trying to bring light to all of the different kinds of groups that we see in Crescent City and Lunathian and Midgard. And so we needed to see a mer person. We needed to see somebody who lived under the ocean. He got on my nerves, but I kind of was happy with the way his storyline wrapped up and the sacrifice that he made in order to, you know, save what he could. Lydia and Rune, y'all, I really thought Rune was a goner for a second, and then I thought Lydia was a goner for a second. And I'm like, they would not do that to those boys. They would not do that to those little boys who look up to their mom, whether they want to admit it or not, they do. And Bran being Brannon from Throne of Glass, oh my gosh, that ring that Lydia has to be, was it Rowan's ring? Or was it Aelin's ring? I think it was Rowan's ring. It has to be. I want to know more about how Throne of Glass fits into this whole story. Obviously, like the shifters, the shifter being Fae, that has to come from Throne of Glass. I feel like my brain is like trying to relive everything that just happened in the last week. The ending scene where all of the Asteri that are still remaining are flying into the void that Bryce opened up, basically like within herself. That was a little bit confusing. But Bryce like going with them and essentially dying. Hunt saving her with the mask because Bryce doesn't do anything without thinking about it. And then her getting to see all of her friends that have gone on and being assured that they are going to be happy and rested in the afterlife. Oh, my heart. Especially when we saw Danica and Lahaba. I cried, and then I didn't stop crying until Bryce got the phone call from Vaxian that there were Pegasus sprouting up on Avalon. And Avalon reminds me so much of Terrasen. I'm sure that there's 10,000 more things I could keep going on about, but I'm gonna go ahead and stop and wrap up the vlog. Do you agree with my thoughts? Did you want to point out anything else? What do you think Sarah's gonna do next? Because, oh my gosh, I can't wait. And, you know, I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.